Hey, Jared.
Hey, Josh.
Why do lawyers always carry a briefcase?
I mean, it is very important to them. I can't think of a good answer though, and it sucks because I actually got last one's perfectly.
Yep.
Finally, but yeah, no. Why do they carry briefcases?
Because they always want to be able to argue their case anywhere they go.
Oh, very good. Very dad jokey.
Are they granddad jokes soon? Not dad jokes.
Yeah, we have to change them. Maybe your type of jokes that you'll do will change. That'd be interesting to see.
Right.
A whole new level
of cheesiness, corniness.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time Film, podcast where we discuss a director's filmography from start to finish. We are currently in the 90s decade for Francis Ford Coppola, FFC.
Yeah, we're almost done actually because he doesn't do that many movies after this.
All right, the voice you hear there is my co-host Jared.
What's the difference between a lawyer and a hooker, Josh? A hooker will stop screwing you after you're dead. Finger guns.
Yes, and I am your host, Josh. Jared, this is the good processed turkey.
Oh, man, that one, yeah, that was a great scene.
And then and then the last one I wrote down. I'm just wondering, do you even remember when you first sold out?
Yeah. I did you have the one I had?
Yes,
that was
the first one.
That was like the
it's
one.
a classic line.
I mean, that's a classic lawyer joke anyway.
Yeah. So today we are discussing The Rainmaker, 1997, PG-13, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yep.
A newly minted lawyer who's just passed the bar takes on a fraudulent insurance company in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So we got Francis Ford Coppola directing, writers Josh Grisham and Francis Ford Coppola, and then Michael Herr, who's the book writer, because this is based on a book.
Yeah, but it's John Grisham. But you said Josh. Is it like it's someone related to John?
John. It's John Grisham. Did
Okay,
I say Josh?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I was
just read what I had written down then.
Yeah.
And then we got our cinematographer again, John Toll.
Yep. From Jack.
Yep. And from he was in the film. What was the film before that? He was in that one too.
Oh, was he?
This is the third one.
Oh, okay. So that was Dracula?
Yes.
I thought there was someone different for that.
Well, if it was somebody different than this guy did, I know this is the third film that they've done together. Yeah. And then we got music from Elmer Bernstein.
Yes.
And production costs. What are you thinking? What are your estimates of this?
This I think is going to be pretty low.
Okay.
Just my feel watching the movie. So we're in 1997. So to keep that into account, we're getting
closer to present day.
like or just budgets in general for movies.
Yeah. Inflation, whatnot.
Yeah. 25 million.
40 million.
Okay. That's higher than I thought it would be, actually. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a little higher than I thought too.
Yeah.
No Academy Award nominations for this or wins.
Okay.
All right, so the cast here. We got Matt Damon, which playing the lead. This is the last film released before Good Will Hunting, and then Saving Private Ryan, and then Rounders. So he was basically like really not known that well here, and then blew up right after this film.
Yeah.
Because obviously those were like his big run. Yeah.
That's still like a lot of his most famous movies.
And then we got Danny DeVito, Claire Danes, which this was her film right after Romeo and Juliet, which was what she blew up from.
Oh, really?
So, but she probably filmed it before Romeo and Juliet came out. So filming this, she probably didn't know, and they didn't have to pay the fee. Like they probably hired her before, contracted with her before she got really popular that.
So you're
but
saying even so, those two people alone, it's like they
were nobodies when they made this
so
film.
that didn't account to
probably
budget
not
of the film.
not that level, but they both became big stars right around this time.
Okay.
She was technically 16. I was like, she was technically 18 when they filmed this, and 16 when she filmed Romeo and Juliet. So she wasn't even.
Dang, I didn't know she was that young, and even this movie.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito, probably out of everyone, was the biggest star at this moment.
John Voight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we do have John Voight.
Pretty well known.
Yeah.
And then Virginia Madison.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
And then Roy Scheider.
Okay.
You have anybody else? Did you have anybody else down? Those are the people I recognized.
No, I didn't recognize anyone else in the cast.
Okay. All right. So what was your overall thoughts on this film? Had you seen it before?
No, I have not seen this before. I think you haven't either, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I knew it was based on a John Grisham novel, which there's several movies, pretty famous movies made out of his novels. A lot of them are, lawyer type movies or lawyer stories. And I want to say, first of all, I like kind of courtroom films in general. Like I do like a lot of them. And I thought the story was intriguing. I think my main negative though is, I think the film is too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely felt that. And there was a few bad moments and a few like really bad ADR moments I noticed as well. Okay.
Yeah.
But my only other negative is like the sound design and dialogue was not as good as its has been in general, which was weird because we just praised him for, I think, the sound and dialogue and everything in Dracula was really great. So
yeah, I feel like he finally stepped that up because it had been lagging in some of his movies where in the 80s, early 90s, even before I started to be like, okay, dude, like there's plenty of films now that I know that were out this time that were much better, and you're still like your films sound like they're still being made in the 70s and 60s.
Yeah, and it's weird. This one, like it felt kind of like that. But there were still some high moments as well in this movie, and overall, I did enjoy it. So
yeah, I think I mean pretty much in the same spot as you. Overall, I enjoyed this film.
Yeah,
yes, I agree. It felt a little long. And there's a few moments there was a little like awkward stuff from production quality in general. I guess the best way to kind of say that in a blanket statement. But but it was enjoyable. I think yeah,
it's a good story, and
yes,
all these novels of his that they have adapted into.
So what other films is novels? I didn't look it up.
The one I like the best and am the most familiar with is A Time to Kill.
Okay.
Which was, I would say if you wanted like the best version of this kind of movie, watch that. Like that movie's amazing. But there's also, I was getting it mixed up because I thought that John Grisham also did Presumed Innocent, but he didn't. That was someone else. Because I was thinking that was kind of in the same lines. But he did The Client.
Okay, I've heard of that film.
Yeah, it was a lot of these were done in the 90s too, like into films. That's why I figured Presumed Innocent was on there too. But there was a lot of courtroom movies in general, like that got pretty big in the 90s. There's a few others I can't think off the top of my head.
Okay.
But yeah, I like his stories, and the adaptations have been pretty good overall.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about. So I just had a note up here up front. Once again, he's going with the style of like the voiceover.
Yeah, he is.
Which is just like, not my favorite creative decision.
Yeah.
I mean, some work better than others, but I feel like he goes that route in his adaptations of these stories very often.
Yeah, he's done a lot now, and the stuff I know you.
And then also just put a note, another book turned into a movie, which is also a very common trope of her route he goes. Like he finds a book and or develops a movie based on a book.
Yeah. I mean, he has done it a lot, but that's
how he got started. I mean, like taking the book Godfather and turning the movie, and then so it's like, okay, I don't want to. What's the word? Like, if it's if it keeps working, don't fix it, right, or whatever. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
So I guess he's going off of that mentality of like, hey, if this is what worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, but it's common with a lot of directors and a lot of.
I feel like not as much in a while. Like I feel like maybe in the earlier years, but like I mean,
well, it depends now because a lot of times now they try to make it into a TV show instead of a
books,
movie. Yeah,
because
or whatever the source material is. Yeah.
So because you can, a lot of times books are so dense that getting it in a movie is hard. So
it is. Yeah.
The better medium for it is a TV series.
Definitely.
But anyway, yeah. The just those little notes of just like these commonalities in a lot of his films. I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still doing that.
And then like my next just overall thought was just like, always enjoy an underdog story or like a David and Goliath kind of story, like where like you got the little guy taking down the big guy.
Definitely.
And we're suckers for that, I think, as Americans in general.
Yeah.
Maybe all the world, I don't know, but like I know just definitely connects with the American culture a lot of times. So
yeah, I know that resonated with you, and Tucker was the other one you mentioned.
Yeah,
semi recently that kind of had that same.
Yep, and and then also just because our main character's name is Rudy, it made me think of the film Rudy.
Yeah, me too.
Which is also like kind of underdog story.
Yeah, so that is one of like the underdog stories. Yeah.
Anyway, so what else do you? I mean, I can.
Yeah, I don't have too many notes in general. But I wanted to start off with kind of the two main performances in this that I thought were really great was Matt Damon and Danny DeVito. Like I thought they were the two best in this.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause like, I don't know, Mickey Rourke in this was just kind of
phoning it in.
It did seem like, I mean, he wasn't in it a lot.
He phoned it in towards the end.
Did. Yeah, they probably just sort of like, hey, can you just do this wherever you're at right now? Just
on the beach,
film your voice. Yeah, film your voice for this bit. Yeah, and then even John Voight, like it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was all right, but no, Matt Damon and Danny DeVito and their performances individually, but also their dynamic with each other was a pretty strong point of the movie, I thought.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I also liked the difference, right? Like Matt Damon was very green and inexperienced, but he, was kind of smart and knew the books. And then you got Danny DeVito, who's more like the street smarts. Like, he's got a lot of experience. Could never pass the bar because he failed the bar 7 times or something, is that they say.
It was a lot, and and we don't ever really know if he does. Like he's kind of leaving it then and saying, and he's Rudy's telling him like, hey,
it's kind of implied he's going to and pass it
finally do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like, we don't get the results of that.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked, that they kind of the yin to yang in their partnership and that, and you see the benefits of that.
It worked well
as the story progressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't sure in the beginning because because it's kind of set up with Mickey Rourke's character being kind of sleazy and a sleazy lawyer, and then like he's been working for him for a long time, and so he kind of like, I was suspicious of if he was gonna.
I was too,
derail things for Rudy or not, but then it turns out he was actually also pretty good guy, good upstanding guy. Just hadn't had a chance to maybe do stuff.
It seemed like at the beginning, it seemed like he was going to be very sketchy, like Mickey Rourke's character, just because that's who he is with.
Yep.
When we get introduced to him, but no, it turns out as
how much the people you surround with matters. Kids out there.
Very true.
Your friends matter. Who you surround yourself affects
what
people think of you.
Oh yeah. I have a kind of a early on section in the film that I thought was just pretty funny was when Rudy visits Miss Birdie for the first time and talks about her will. And she mentions wanting to give all the money not to her kids but to a random televangelist.
Yeah.
And he was like, really, that's what you want to do? And it was a funny scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have a couple, like, just the overall story was interesting because it's like so relevant and even more relevant maybe today, just with like corrupt health insurance companies. And I mean,
and how much they can get away with.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the basis of this is. And these giant insurance companies, and like, we're still dealing with that today. And so, even whatever it is, 20, 30 years later, almost.
Yeah, almost 30 years. Yeah.
I mean, at least like 25. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, I just thought that was intriguing that like some of the messaging in this or in the book that then translated to the film is stuff we're still dealing with today.
Yeah. I think it's a common theme in a lot of John Grisham novels, like what they tackle, because it's always has to do with not necessarily always lawyers, but like there is always a courtroom involved in like a trial a lot of the times. And it does seem like, from what I know of his books and the movies I've seen based on it, a lot he tackles those kind of issues a lot that still are really relevant today. They're kind of like timeless things that, I guess that's why they're still going back to these. And I don't know, I'm sure there's some new stuff that they're working on or has come out that's based on John Grisham.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Just liked how they showed some growth in Rudy. I mean, like, when he started out, he was very, like I said, green, idealistic. And then he kind of shifted to, but he was also a little unsure of himself. And then by the end, he's much more confident. But I think he finds that confident in the purpose he finds, like finding purpose in helping these people that are definitely are kind of more on the downtrodden, like, and need someone to help them. And so I really like that story arc for him.
Yeah, me too. You see how he does kind of his perspective and just how he operates, I guess, shifts over the course of the film. Like you said, the growth that he goes through. Also, a lot of it definitely has to do with how much time he spends with his family and gets more information and knows more about their situation and what's going on with their son. And, he obviously sympathizes and empathizes with them more. And then that good plays into how he approaches not only the case, but how he goes about things throughout the movie.
Well, it's kind of the same with all his clients. I mean, the 3 clients we get to see, right? Like, because then Miss Birdie, like, he obviously becomes, more closely involved with her as a, friend or whatever, what do you even call it? Like, mother figure for him. And
he's also living,
and he starts living in her apartment above the garage, and then he's helping her around the house,
helping in the garden, all that,
stuff like that. And then the same with what was her name?
I couldn't remember the other
Kelly,
person.
Claire Danes' character.
Oh, sure. I thought you were talking about, because there's another person that gets involved in. I think that's the Virginia Madsen character. I don't remember her name, but that's more towards the end.
Yeah, but
that's someone else is involved, but that has to do with
the main case.
The main case, yes,
because she brings
the information about it. Yeah.
But no, then Claire, like the
Kelly Riker,
domestic abuse stuff, and of course then that becomes romantic from his perspective. Like, he's a little too into it, but
well, I my next note is kind of going off of that. Just the guy that Kelly Riker is with. I mean, absolutely awful human being.
Yes.
And the fact that they talk about even early on, like beating her with an aluminum bat, and it's like, you know, of course, even then you're like, well, I hope he gets what's coming to him at some point in this movie, and he does, which is good. Near the end of the film, but just even in '97 or whatever when this movie came out, it's like obviously that was unfortunately a really real thing with certain relationships, and unfortunately it's still a thing. But it's just they portray it all really well in this movie, because just like, I don't know, it's just awful, and it's sometimes hard to even imagine, like, how can these kind of things happen to people?
Right. How do people get into situations?
Yeah. But it's done really well in the movie.
Yeah, in general. I was going to say, like, there was a times where I thought his acting was a little bit too over the top.
Who's acting?
The guy, her husband.
Oh, yeah, him.
Like, it was like, there was moments where I'm like, okay, feels very kind of fake.
That's where some of the bad ADR is.
Yeah.
That I definitely saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't.
Obviously, he's nobody you recognize, because.
No. But I just mean more their situation. All that
the
was done really well.
Yeah.
What else you got?
You got I love the new judge when he came in, the old judge.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention him.
Yeah,
Danny Glover, right?
Oh yeah. The new judge. Yeah. The old judge guy, he did look kind of familiar too.
He did too,
but I didn't look him up to see.
I think it's Dean Stockwell or something like that. Yeah, I saw the name in the credits. I think that's him.
But I loved the new judge. His like office is just like a card table and fold out chairs. And the old guy had like the ridiculous mahogany wood like stuff in there. And that was just like a
very different,
obvious, subtle touch to like the art design, set design, to, you know, add more to their backstory of these people.
Yeah. It kind of also, you know, just from what you see of the first judge and then with him and seeing their personalities, it's like it definitely informs their personalities, like how their room is set up, but also like kind of their mindset and priorities, where ultimately their head is at. Is seeing that big contrast of all this crazy fancy nice stuff in the original judge's room, and then is it really just a card table then?
Yeah, it's like a fold out table, like not like yeah,
that's great.
And then like fold out chairs, and they're like don't all match either. Like they're
not something he really cares about. Yeah.
And I loved his attitude to like like you could tell he could stand the other guys, but he still wouldn't bend the law.
Yep.
So even when they would like, he knew they were probably guilty, he still would, like, it was like, but we have to prove it. So and so it was
he was still very by the book, like didn't waver at all in that.
So then next it was just, I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, we spent time in the courtroom, but then they had to have the whole deposition at the house, the Black's house.
Yeah, in the backyard.
And they did the yard. And I was just thought that was kind of cool, because I don't think I'd ever seen that done like that.
No, me neither.
In any situation, and that was neat.
And it was good. Obviously, we see it later, which we can talk about later. But as a result of that, you see that come up, like the video of the son that is brought as an exhibit to the trial, like towards the end.
Yeah,
which I mean is
closing remarks. He's in the closing.
Yeah, remarks. And it's him in the backyard. So I imagine, because I think you see a camera when they're doing all that. So that's from that whole trial there that they did.
Well, they normally would record the deposition, right?
Yeah.
I love the comedic elements when Rudy's like messing up when he first starts, because he's like never been in a courtroom before, and he's like, "Oh, you can't do that," and the judge would be like, "You got to ask to approach the witness.
Yeah, he's still getting used to all that.
Yeah.
Like the proper protocol and like just how you are supposed to be as a lawyer in a courtroom. Yeah, that was good.
But it was funny, but then also nice to the judge because he liked him. I think because he understood. Hey, this guy's could be a good lawyer.
Yeah,
honest guy. So he just kind of gave him some grace in that area, but has some.
One thing that was so random and just I thought it was funny. Like it happened several times. I want to say earlier on in the movie is almost every scene in their original, I forget the name of it, the original lawyer's office where
Mickey Rourke's character was there.
Yeah, and Danny DeVito were. Yeah, so like all the scenes that were in that office where they'd be interacting with Rudy or someone else, almost always there was this random attractive woman
with
in the background just doing something.
Stuff. Yeah. Well,
and it's like they made a moment of it.
It's like he owned the clubs and stuff around there.
Okay, I guess it has that.
So I think it was
Okay, that makes more sense then because I saw it and they were always just doing something random in the background of all these scenes, and I was like, why is this happening? But okay, I guess that
remember
makes it a little
they said
less
he owned
random.
all that stuff around there.
Yeah,
and that's
so they got all of them to help in the office.
Rudy was waiting tables or something at it before while he was still in school.
Yeah.
I loved the whole setup and payoff of when they had the phones bugged.
Yeah, that was good.
That was so well done and so hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And not original in the general. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like that's not, but like they really made it work in this. They made it fun, even though I've seen it done before, like in general.
Yeah, and once they find the bug and see like what it's made out of, and like it's just like some cheap thing, they're like, oh, we know exactly who did this. It's like it's not the feds, it's like I only have a few more notes, and it's basically just the courtroom scenes near the end of the film. I think were some of the best, and they normally are with like a John Grisham novel that's adapted into a movie. Even other stuff like Presumed Innocent, like some of the best scenes are obviously the courtroom.
It all
films.
comes together, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and that's how a lot of courtroom films are. Primal Fear is another one in the 90s that I love. I don't think that's based on a John Grisham novel, but that's another really awesome movie. Same thing now that we've got the most recent, the Presumed Innocent TV show. Also, some of the best scenes were obviously courtroom stuff towards the end, and so I thought in this movie too that was some of the best scenes. I think that's it in my note. Just that's some of the best scenes in these kind of movies.
I mean, my last note is around the ending. So what'd you think of the ending?
I thought it was good. I mean, it was pretty typical where it came together in the courtroom, and then bringing in other witnesses.
Well, I'm talking about after that, like the ending.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty normal ending.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where he quits.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like that was going to be his trajectory anyway, at least to me.
Okay.
Through the movie. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
No, I mean, I thought.
Were you surprised by it, actually?
Well, yes. So It was not what I expected. In like a traditional hero underdog story, like you would go on to become this great lawyer and do all this stuff, right?
True.
But really, he just had this one win, and then he's like, "I'm done."
Well, also the fact that the amount of money that he won from it's like he wouldn't need to.
He didn't get any of the money.
No, he chose not to give it because he could have gotten it.
No, they didn't get it. Remember
I thought he said the amount.
He gets the call. Yeah, but then he's like, "Well, it's not in the bank yet." And then they have the scene after that where John Voight's character calls him and is like, "Hey, it's funny. They went bankrupt or whatever." And
okay.
So this basically means that they didn't get any money.
I thought he chose to basically give it all, like even his cut, to the family at the end. No. Okay, man. All right. Well, then that's not as that's a little more unexpected then. Yeah. But the family still got the 50 million.
No, because the company that was, because like the
Wow. Okay. I see. I thought that was still, even though I thought there was still some legal thing that they got to get that whatever 50 million.
So just because the jury awards this, but then if the company's bankrupt and can't pay it, then they're bankrupt.
But then that still somehow can go to something else, or or somehow the state can. Man, that sucks.
No, that's kind of the point.
Okay. All right. Well, then that definitely changes things. That makes the movie, I mean, it's sadder, obviously, but that makes the movie ending, I think, better then, because it's not as predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of why I had as a note, because I was like, I felt like...
Well, I misunderstood some of the ending then.
I felt like it was a strong ending, but like in a very different way.
Yeah.
But then also, then because he decides to quit then, and then he said and then he goes to teach.
Yep.
But and then I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, okay, I mean, in reality, he's not gonna be able to change the system that obviously, like, because even though he won, they didn't really win because they didn't get any money to help the people that needed help, right?
Yep.
The family, which even they were just gonna get all into research for
leukemia or whatever,
anyway, right. But regardless, like there was nobody got any money, and then so then how much can one lawyer do? And I think what's implied is by going and teaching, hopefully he can impact the whole system by training and teaching more lawyers to be, I guess, less corrupt, or whatever, like,
yes,
put his imprint on the whole business as a whole.
Well, and I think, and that's good that he did that, because I remember there was a line at the end of the movie where he talked about, it was some quote, I can't remember the quote exactly, but basically saying like, most lawyers at a certain point, they cross that line and then become corrupt, like you said. And I guess he basically wanted to get out before that happened, because I guess he could see himself basically crossing that line eventually. So then to become a teacher then for that, and to better set up people in the future to not get to that line or cross that line to being, or just unethical in general, I think is good. So that it's a good ending for him, even though, like, yeah, obviously he didn't get everything, but he won the case in a very good, like, truthful way, and did all he could with it. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
And then my last note, this was just another funny thing I noticed a lot in the courtroom scenes, is I felt really bad for the stenographer because there were so many scenes where she had this little end table that she had to keep picking up and moving to wherever, like, the lawyers were, or the judge, or anything else, to start typing again. It was just funny. You see it a lot in a lot of the scenes there. Yeah. She had to keep moving around. So
they approached the bench. She's like over there.
She had to pick up this thing and move it.
And then when they were outside.
Yep.
She was
there. She always be there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into a little bit of cinematography. I don't have as much. I don't have a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, I didn't put down anything that stood out to me.
Yeah,
with the different shots of the movie.
So I just a note. I like to try to like the lighting and the kind of the color grade.
Okay.
So in this case, I think it looked like they went with a lot of very natural light most time, and kind of went with a more muted look and feel. I think it was, to kind of make it feel very grounded and real, and, kind of with these people. And then the only time it was felt different was when he went to like the insurance company's office, and then it was like very corporate, bright lighting and stuff.
I did notice there was a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then also in a lot of the scenes where they're more intimate, and him like getting to know these people and having like real conversations with people. You know, most of that was kind of like just a nice handheld, but like not super shaky, just kind of like handheld, you know, almost like you would like shoot a doc. They were shooting it like that. So kind of, again, leaning into like, let's make this feel real people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I just noticed that like to show that change in the story arc of Rudy, they also were always filming him so he looked like he was smaller in the beginning. Like like if you're kind of like the way, you know, you can do that where like, you know, whether you're shooting, depending on what angle or direction you're shooting, but you can shoot so that you're either behind him and below him so that he looks smaller, or if you're the other way, you're kind of a little bit higher up, and, you know, making so that the angle, like.
So did they then?
They did shift that, yeah, and then it was more on par, yeah, and not. And it's common, not to say common, but like it's a technique that's used often to.
With this kind of story, I imagine they probably use it a lot.
It makes the person look more, and then I mean, eventually, which I don't think, to me, I didn't notice them going full heroic on him, like where he's taller than everybody else, but in some cases, that's what you do, like, right, like you shift and then you're shooting up on them all the time, and then they like feel like they're the, you know, more heroic. And
well, I remember you mentioning the same thing also with Tucker in that movie. They did this, similar thing with him.
Just stuff to keep an eye on. It's all these things that are subtle as a viewer if you're not like looking out for the stuff. Like, I think it's, and which is fine. It's not intended to be so intentional and obvious. It's intended to be subtle, but subconsciously affecting your emotion and feelings for things on camera.
Same exact thing as what a good score should do for it. Like, it's even, I mean, obviously if it's like a really good melody or something, or a cue that really gets stuck in your head, that's great. But it's like what's supporting on screen and like is supporting whatever emotion needs to be felt for it. So in a sense, if the score is doing something really well, then it disappears into the scene, because it's just, you're just getting the reaction that the director and everyone is wanting you to have for whatever scene is being done.
That's kind of just ahead on that. So you're talking about score. Let's go into the score.
Yeah. Speaking of the score, this is something that I'll actually kind of clashes with the movie, I think. But Elmer Bernstein, I know this guy. I mean, this name especially. Leonard Bernstein is the one that you know the most. So I don't know if this guy is somehow related to him, but he did so much. He's done so many films since the 1950s. Some of the ones I put on here, seems like a lot of comedies, especially. Yeah. So Meatballs, Airplane, Stripes, Trading Places, Ghostbusters, Spies Like Us. It's like a lot of Three Amigos, Funny Farm. It's a lot of that. And then Cape Fear is the last one I thought of, which is more of a thriller, but that score actually is really great. I really like that movie overall. But with this one, I don't know, and I'm curious if you have anything to say about it, because this one, it just, the score felt strange to me overall and didn't really fit, at least for me personally, didn't really fit with what was being done in the scenes.
I will say, like, it was
just didn't fit very well to me, I thought.
And maybe this is why, like, I did feel like it stood out a couple times, and it wasn't like,
but not in a good way.
Yeah, and not in like it was like bad.
No,
but it's just like, it was like, it seems a little too prominent, but like it wasn't like should have been at the time.
Yeah.
There was a couple times where I noticed that.
It was just certain choices he did with the score. It was also certain instruments he used that just, I was like, oh, that's interesting to use that. And I don't know, it just didn't feel right for a lot of the scenes in there. Not all of them, but a lot of them, I just, it stood out to me in not a good way. And yet, none of it was bad, but it was just weird choices, I thought, for this. But it's like, I mean, I mentioned all these movies that he's done that's like, a lot of great scores.
But they also, a lot of those movies are different tonally than this film.
Yes, that is true. And even the other one, the exception to that, because yeah, mostly all comedies. And then I mentioned Cape Fear, which is way more very like dark thriller. And the score he did in that is really great. So something more just a drama, courtroom drama. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe just not his strong suit.
Yeah. All right. So what are we thinking for overall themes and messages for this?
I mean, I would say kind of a thought of like, what is justice in America and what does that look like in general? Not only in 1997, but now. I would also say just ethics in general and standing up for those in need is kind of the main things that I thought of.
Yeah. Yeah. Put corporate greed and the flaws in the legal system.
Yeah, for sure.
And then winning isn't about beating the system, but sometimes just walking away with your integrity intact.
Oh, very good, Josh.
Thanks. Well, like I said, that kind of, to me, was what that ending, like he walked away kind of, well, like you said before, he went down stayed in the system too long to where he would start compromising his morals.
Yes.
And he realized that that was a inevitable path and needed to step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see if there's any good trivia.
I also didn't, even though Matt Damon and Claire Danes both are great actors, didn't really feel anything with them, like with their chemistry or their chemistry. Yeah, it was kind of just like, all right.
Yeah. I'm with you. It wasn't anything that
I just felt really like sad also, and bad for her, just like that she's going through all this stuff.
And like from her though, I think, I don't know, because like, okay, again, no, you're second mind, which it's fine.
There's just one thing I just thought about now. I'm like,
no, you're right. Like, but I think from her perspective, I don't know if like speaking from like a director, like I maybe would give her direction to be that way, where it's like, you know, because really she's in love with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why they stay, right? Mm-hmm. Like that. So it's like, but she just knows it's abusive. So then those moments where she's like turning for affection, it's not. It should feel a little like disingenuous, right? Yeah. From her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But then from Matt Damon, like for him to like lean into this, like it should, I don't know, like it feels like from him, it should have been a little bit more, I don't know, the chemistry, right? Like, like he should, because it seemed like they were trying to present it as like he's falling for her.
Yeah. And it didn't really feel that genuine in the movie.
Yeah. All right. The scene where Danny DeVito wakes Matt Damon up on the bench was filmed hurriedly, surprising Damon, who had actually fallen asleep after a scene. So he really did wake him up. John Grishman's favorite of all the films adapted from his books.
Really?
Of the film. To me, it's the best adaptation of any of my books. I love the movie. It's so well done.
Well, that's great for FFC doing like...
That's Entertainment Weekly in 2004.
So I guess even though, like I said, it's one of my favorite films that's based on his novels is A Time to Kill. Maybe it's not as faithfully
to the book
adapted. Yeah, I don't know.
So Danny Glover's prominent role as a judge was uncredited. Maybe that's why I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the credits, and it was cool. Like when he showed up in the movie, I was like, oh, sweet. That's weird. Why was he not? They don't say why.
Doesn't say why, no.
Maybe it was a last minute thing. They needed someone, and he was just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
So again, Coppola encouraged Matt Damon to stay in his character's apartment in order to immerse himself in the role. So like that he was living. So Coppola was then able to sneak some shots of Damon waking up in the morning.
Nice.
Says Coppola picked up a copy of the book at the airport. He ended up finishing it on the flight, and impressed with his ability to hold his attention so thoroughly, he decided to make the film adaptation of the book his next project.
Okay. I'm wondering the timeline of these most recent films of his, because this was 97, right? Jack was 96, but then Dracula, I think, was 92. So there's a big, like, so I'm wondering how long it took for both those movies
Right.
for him. I don't really know. I was curious about that.
Matt Damon used external stimuli in the scene opposite John Voight in the deposition. He placed rocks in his shoes to feel more uncomfortable.
He's going method with his acting.
Yeah.
That's funny because he's not normally that kind of actor to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, this is Claire Danes was only 17 years old at the time of filming. So we make us 18 by the time it came out, despite the fact that her character is supposed to be in her 20s.
Yeah, that actually wasn't an issue for me. She looked pretty much her age and how she should have looked in the movie.
Said after Matt Damon was cast in this movie, Harvey Weinstein then really wanted to get Good Will Hunting made, since Damon, being cast as Rudy Baylor, validated the fact that Matt Damon was a leading man.
Yeah.
Prior to this, the studio was unsure of casting Damon, then a relatively unknown actor, as the lead, with Robin Williams signing on to Good Will Hunting also contributed to the studio fast-tracking the film, which was his next film after this.
Yeah, that's an interesting connection.
Then he also won like an Academy Award for Best Actor.
Oh, yeah. But that's interesting. He had kind of two leads in the Coppola movies, then wound up together in Good Will Hunting.
This movie has the highest film critic score on Rotten Tomatoes of all the John Grisham adaptations.
Really? Huh. When I looked at this movie, though, like overall, now maybe for, movies based on his novels, but just overall, I don't think the rating is that high for this movie in general, which is interesting.
To get Dean Stockwell in the proper mood.
Okay, there is. That's the first judge, yeah.
Yeah. Francis Ford Coppola had him pretend to be a sadistic monarch who sentenced every cast member to a beheading.
Nice.
And then the movie that Rudy and Kelly are seeing in the theater is The Lover from 1992.
I was wondering about that. Okay. Not familiar with it.
Edward Norton auditioned for the part of Rudy Baylor. Well, around this time, he did Primal Fear and absolutely killed it in that movie. So that was a better choice. This was filmed in Memphis, Tennessee, which is where it's set. So
nice. I'm wondering then, what was the cause of this to be $40 million? Because also, you mentioned filming in Memphis, that probably was relatively cheap, and they're only in like a courtroom and just a few houses. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder about that.
I don't know. It says the first cut of this film was 5.5 hours long.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So he took out as much as possible, and it still, to me, felt a little too long. I can't imagine how this movie would have been being 5 hours long.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the next movie?
Youth Without Youth.
Yeah, Youth Without Youth. This
is the first, well, not first, but the biggest gap in Francis Ford Coppola's career. So this is Rainmaker's 97. Youth Without Youth is 2007. So he took a 10-year
break.
Not sure why.
Well, maybe he's like producing or doing.
I'm sure he's doing
other stuff.
Yeah,
and not actually directing.
Yeah. So he does this, and I think 3 more films. So we're pretty much towards the end.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the Rainmaker? Have you seen it? Agree, disagree with anything we said? Please let us know.
Yeah.
You can email us at feedback@screentimepod.com or leave a comment and different platforms. You can follow us and comment on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And any last thoughts?
No.
All right. Well, if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngboy.
All right. Catch you guys next time.